My name is Nama Kham, Nama being my lineage as a Khoikhoi man, and Kham in Khoikhoi language, in the Nama language, means lion. Titake ya Nama Kham, Titake Khoikhoi and Busma. I grew up in Mitchell's Plain in the 70s. Late 80s, hip hop just exploded in Mitchell's Plain, so even from primary school I was exposed to it. Besides that, also in my road, basically, I had the villainous artist known as Falco. He stayed down the road from me, and my brother kept on influencing me with bootleg tapes of Public Enemy, X-Clan, NWA. So officially in 1990, I took that step and started b-boying. Most of us started as b-boys. That was first b-boy, graph artist, then MC. I tried the DJing thing, but it was just too expensive, so I left that one side. The way I would put it is, first of all, for us hip-hop was that freedom in a very frustrating situation. Hip-hop at that time was very socially driven. It was for a cause, you know. To quote, I always use this quote of this house song, Dennis Ferrer. The song goes, "How do I let go when the thought of losing me keeps me dancing to be free?" So b-boying for me was that. It was just how my size, I could contort my body and it would look, it would just look amazing. Okay, I come from a family of my father was a worker, he worked with his hands all his life. My mother's a teacher and eloquent in English, in Latin and in Afrikaans. So the words were always around me, besides being exposed to music. Me just finding my voice to express it. It just came out, and besides that, it was cool. It wasn't boring like everything else that was out at that time. When I became a TVA crew member, which is the villainous animators, the graph writers, Falco, B-Boy Zulu Ra, they were all part of the Zulu Nation. You see, with the elements of hip-hop, we worked it like this. We came in with one element, but we explored all of them. And the most important one of hip-hop is knowledge of self. So through that, information was given us, and then I met up with King Jamo of the Zulu Nation, the Cape Town chapter. And the information just came, and yeah, basically it was time to be a b-boy for life. Okay, the Universal Zulu Nation is an organization started by Afrika Bambaataa and some other members. Bam was one of the gang leaders, one of the biggest gangs in New York, known as the Black Spades. On one of his trips here, he found out about the Zulu tribe. That's where the name comes from, the Zulu tribe. And he thought that, you know what, you could change the situation and make something positive. And that's how it started. It started in New York, obviously, and then it just spread throughout the world. At the moment, I think, yeah, I think it's still alive, because I see every time on Facebook, I see they have their annual gathering of the Zulu Nation. Currently, I'm not very active with the Zulu Nation, but the principles I still think are very important when it comes to hip hop as well, which are basically human principles that we tend to forget.
So it still exists in Cape Town? There's still a chapter in Cape Town?
There's still a chapter in Cape Town, yeah, and King Jamo is still around. If you can, get to interview him as well. Worth it. There's a website. You can go onto the website where you can join directly with the United States. They will obviously refer you to the Cape Town chapter. Or you can get hold of me and I can link you up with King Jamo as well. J7 was a project I was busy with. I was really into the beats at that time. Um, J7 is actually a document. I don't know if they still have it around. J7 is a document you have to sign when you apply for bail. So the concept of it was us being in a situation of bondage, and I personally believe we are still in a situation of bondage, that to free ourselves, we can either free ourselves through the creative side, because that's the easiest way for us to open our minds to other things. So the J7 project was me and another friend of mine known as Flow for Soul. He's a vocalist. We came up with very musical expression of our social ills. It's always going to be in existence because I'm still making beats, he's still singing, I'm still rhyming. You know how they say, luta continua, so we're still keeping it up and going. But for now, it's spreading out into very different avenues. The reason why I'm not going with the Namagam thing at the moment now, because I have many pseudonyms. I have quite a few pseudonyms. Over the years, you know. The Namagam was because only till recently I found out what my lineage is, and me coming from the background of so-called colored, we are so blurred of what our roots are. And I think it's important, like I spoke of that element of hip-hop, knowledge of self. I think we need to be able to find ourselves, because some people might find that they're not Khoikhoi, or they're not Bushman, or they, you know, or they Xhosa, or they Zulu, or something. But they have to find out who they are and be okay with who they are, and then move on from that point. Because my understanding of hip hop is, and you know, I get a lot of affirmation from watching different things, like especially KRS-One. People put a lot into KRS-One about hip hop, the conscious, the culture, and the product. Now, with us, we came in on the culture, and we moved to the conscious through the information we were given. A lot of guys nowadays are coming in at the product, and they're struggling to go up, you know, because it's harder to climb up than to climb down, you know what I mean? So, yeah, the thing about Namagam is, I want to be the voice for the voiceless at the moment, for the people who are confused, the people who haven't even taken the step of finding themselves. They're just sitting in the distraction at the moment, you know. The distraction is all around us, from television to media, everything. So, yeah, we need to be us. Because like they say, there's just us. You see, with our lineage, very little is documented. Most of it is word of mouth. So going through that steps of speaking to the older people, finding out, you know, okay, this Nama, you know, the other one that always comes up is Griqua. On my mother's side is Griqua. On my father's side is Nama. In between there is Dutch, is English as well. I'm like this, man. If I watch a game, I root for the underdog. And at the moment, the situation we find ourselves in nationally is we're the underdog. So our story needs to be told, because it's one of the first stories here, if not the first story here. So it needs to be told, and our current story needs to be told as well. The evolution from being the most reasonable, you know, would rather reason out the situation, to one of the most violent groups, ethnic groups at the moment. So that story needs to be told, and it also needs to be told that the only time you see us is not only in the gangster role or the clown role. There's the intellectual, there's the poet, there's many other avenues. So that needs to be told as well. And us who have the ability to speak to people should be responsible in using it that way. I am a multidimensional person. Let me just start it like that. Which basically means there's not only rapping to my side, there's beats, there's music, is composition, there's movie scores, there is stage direction, musical direction, helping artists find where they need to be. Besides that, there's the poetry angle, and at the moment the poetry angle is getting extremely busy for me. Doing a couple of festivals. I'm also doing universities, which I like, because places of places of learning, they need to also understand that that institution might give you one side of it, but the best example of learning is life, you know, and also to interact with different people, to open up what we do to others. Besides that, also I'm a martial artist as well. I do a little bit of capoeira as well. Besides that, I do silat, sistema, and piper. That's the other dimension. Then the other dimension of myself is also, which I think is the most important for me at present, is I'm a father. So that life journey for me now as well is moving, and I'm loving it every day. Kaapstad, the first place in this area where slavery started. The reason why I'm starting it like this. Cape Town is for the creatives. They starve here. They seriously starve here because of you basically pumped here. If you pumped, you might get something. But if you're doing what you do, as raw as it is, you're gonna starve. You're gonna have to move around to survive. So at present, no, I have a 9 to 5. Because I do the 9 to 5 so I can cover those expenses so that I can do what I love to do. Sure, it's year 24 now. You know what? I think it's the way it made me feel. And it still makes me feel that. Not all the time, but it still makes me feel like that. Like I said, it makes me feel like this is my space to be me. No inhibitions or anything, and no people saying, no, you can't be so loud, no, you can't, your pants can't hang like that, no, you can't do those gestures.